Say what's up, Headspaces. It's your brother VJ from the Ancient Mother, and you're watching the Headspace, Africa's most poignant hip-hop podcast. After a long hiatus, we back on a segment that is pretty much one of the most fundamental parts of what we do. We're talking about Phula-Phula, which translates to, listen, learn, but also kind of is a flip on breaking down lyrics. And if you're watching this for the first time, this is a podcast channel that focuses on uncovering, discovering, dissecting, analyzing the phenomenon that is the hip-hop culture throughout the continent of Africa. And because of that, we tend to focus a lot on rap music. So some of the nicest rap verses that have been coming out lately have been coming out in a format that has not been done in quite a minute. There seems to be a renaissance of freestyles going around. And when I say freestyle, yes, there are more than one definitions of what a freestyle means. So all those purists who think that a freestyle is nothing but top off the dome, you are frankly wrong, because from the inceptions of hip-hop, the idea of freestyle was seen fundamentally as something that was brought forth to a space for the first time to a new audience. So whether or not you prepped, whether or not you constructed something beforehand, the essence of the spirit of freestyle is you bring something that people have not heard before, or you might bring something they have in a new kind of way. So that kind of became the platform, which eventually evolved to become something that became the top of the dome. Because what better way of kind of outdoing prepped rhymes and prepped dances and prepped scratches than actually coming up with one off the bat and showing not only your capacity to create, but your ingenious to improvise. So now we're talking about how this quick turn in the emphasis of freestyle rap has hit South Africa in a very interesting way. A lot of high to mid-profile rappers, I hate using these hierarchies, but for the sake of kind of capturing those who are already in the imagination of the celebrity realm and those who might not be known, I have to resort to such words. We're talking from MCs such as your YoungstaCPT, whose verse and freestyle I will be dissecting today, is as in the spirit of the episode. Now, Youngsta put out a freestyle called Bok. Now, for those in other parts of the world, that translates to buck. Now, the reason that he's titled in this one Bok is because it's an ode to fallen rapper AKA's song Mbuzi, which translates into goat, which is again a play on the idea of being the great one. Now, Youngsta, in an ode and an homage, and quite frankly speaking, mourning, delivers a very deep, intense sonnet spoken from the heart, really reflecting on life post AKA. And I feel like it's a very profound theme to speak on, because a lot of rappers tend to use the opportunity, or maybe use is a little bit of a harsh word, but to kind of take the opportunity of a fallen artist's passing as the opportunity to reflect on their own archetypal greatness as the people see them. Very rarely do you get very personal memoirs of how the passing of a friend or just a fellow rapper affects one on a deeper level. So I think in terms of the thematics of it all, Youngsta gives us something that is not only from the heart but from the guts. Like, it comes from the most gut-wrenching parts of places he's still trying to negotiate very soon after the passing of somebody who was clearly more than just a colleague in the art, but a friend. Now, straight to it. Bok opens up with that fiery beat that many questioned would even rise to the plateau, seeing that it had sampled a famous South African track by the name of Sister Bettina, and he creeps into it with the same kind of energy and, might I say, flow that AKA hit it with. That ooh, na 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 na. So, you know what I gotta love about this is that it's homage or homage, however you want to pronounce it. It's basically honoring what has come before by imitating core parts of it but also doing it integrally in your own way. This is innovation 101. This is literally the difference between stealing and being influenced. You steal when you just take and you copy and you paste, but it becomes influence when you take that and you find ways to integrate it in your own way. So Youngsta kicks it off by saying,
cool, calm, keep and collect. New car, you hearing it rev. They taking shortcuts and keeping the door shut. The lift didn't work, so we took the stairs. Ooh.
It kind of opened it up in a way that foreshadows his mood. The atmosphere is mournful, but at the very same time it's vengeful. I think many of us have seen the very vengeful tweets that Youngsta has openly posted, in a way kind of seeking retribution and justice for Kiernan Forbes' murder, and having this never say die spirit of feeling personally as Youngsta that he will do whatever it takes to not only avenge the spirit of AKA, probably in the literal sense, because Youngsta be gangster like that, he be having them connections up in the cop, but really most importantly in the spiritual sense, that if there's anything we can do to fight for the memory of what many believe was the greatest rapper, not only in South Africa but in Africa, it's to study his moves and continue the path. So you can
Look at this pair. Back then me and my cousin would share. Now I'm like Ben Affleck directing airs, kicks and the snare, giving cocaine to a bear.
Those who've seen the Cocaine Bear movie, reference to that quickly. Youngsta again flashing us back to the narrative of his life. So again, it's rags to riches. It's the parallel of where do I come from to where we are right now. And what this is for rappers, it's basic illustration. This is how you render a story by depicting pictures and weaving them into very, very subtle metaphors for your audience to get this vivid picture of what you're trying to paint. He can
hibernate in his lair, then set him free on the whole ANC and the DA, whoever's in parliament's chairs. I say what you think, but you don't cause you're scared. 3 months later, police don't give answers bad.
Very direct weaving into the actual murder. He goes from post-apartheid South Africa, a hint to the coming of Nelson Mandela, the corruptibility of democracy, the illusion that many South Africans believe that the rising of a black president would be the idealistic redemption of a people, and how that's literally fallen to the ground in evidence of a lot of things, most lately AKA's murder. So
boys, we need Mike Larry and Marcus. Nadia and Keenan could have been the Carters. Now we just pouring out bottles of lager, cartons and cartons. I'm wiping my tears. I want all the smoke, I won't wait till it clears. Diamonds forever, so I am De Beers.
All the South Africans up there, De Beers, definitely linked to the colonial connections of gold mining, how South Africa was plundered as a nation. And before that, he hints to challenging the system at large, challenging anybody who will let the spirit of AKA sleep without some form of retribution coming to the fore. Now, what this is, simply put, Youngsta's frustrated, and he really feels that what has happened with AKA's murder is indicative of a greater illness in society. This is why the direct connections to not only AKA being slain as an individual, but the country being slain as a people. So I think he uses AKA as a metaphor for where we are in South Africa right now. And so, linking up to the whole bad boys metaphor, him and AKA being brothers in the arms of trying to find a way of South African rap that was markedly different, but at the very same time nationalistically relevant, comparing them himself and AKA to Mike Lowry and of course Marcus. And if you don't know who those characters are, you missed a whole bunch of very interesting cop flicks starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. But before I go any further, he goes in. Now he's saying, hold up though, cottons and cottons, I'm wiping my tears. I would like to think that that is a reference to Ricky Rick. I'd like to think that the king of cotton, I'd like to think that after the passing of Ricky, who Youngsta also acknowledged, is now another death. Hence, cottons and cottons, he's wiping his tears. And I think that's a very, very, very subtle double entendre that many wouldn't have catched. The fact that he's not only referring to the cotton of cotton, you know, cotton, he's also referring to directly Ricky Rick's passing into AKA's passing. So going from cotton to cotton and wiping his tears. And
I am Boozy and you are a deer. Bambi, I am the hunter, hanging your head on the wall or in jaws like a pickle. Everyone wanna be legends and goats, but nobody's ready to be sacrificial.
nobody's ready to be sacrificial. My favorite line. I mean, he literally goes, everybody wants to be the greatest, but at what cost? They're not prepared to do what they have to do to truly be great. And now, what is greatness? If you've watched this podcast numerous times again, greatness is not pandering to public scrutiny, popular tropes. Greatness is understanding the navigating politics of your country and finding ways to thread that delicate balance between who you are as a person and the culture that you navigate around. And that comes at a real deep cost of self-analysis. It comes at the cost of exercising any biases and Americanisms you might have to thoroughly cleanse yourself of all copycatism to transcend into the place of true originality. So my God, you gotta hear that again. Youngsta says everybody wanna be legends and goats, but nobody's ready to be sacrificial. What do we do with goats during the ritual? We sacrifice them.
For your thoughts, you doing the dishes. It's Ramadan, so I'm feeling religious. I thought
The Ramadan line right there. What you know what happens during Ramadan? They fast. Muslims fast. So as a result, the food is not literal, but it's food for thought. And you're doing the dishes. Basically saying he's giving you something to really break down for you to do the work of actually processing it. Beautiful line there, linking it back to Ramadan, and he's feeling religious. The fervor of God, the fervor of the righteous indignation and anger that says something right must be done. And moving on the religious key, he moves and then he says, I
thought that this holiness, the Dalai Lama's supposed to be righteous. He asking for kisses, suck on your tongue. I'd rather bite it out of your mouth and then cut it in slices. I see.
Now, we all saw the controversy around the Dalai Lama and him sticking out his tongue for a little boy to suck as part of what he explained as a ritual of his people, what many might have misconstrued or maybe seen accurately as a perverted old man. I think these are issues that speak to the broken spirit of ideals being seen in a way that forces us to consider what truly is holy. You know? And I think how this lifts in with the freestyle is, how do we measure the people we elevate to a status of God, great, divine, exemplary, and excellence? And how do we respond when it seems as if they've fallen before our eyes, both literally, metaphorically, or in other words? So I think where this Dalai Lama thing comes into play is not only to kind of yank it in as, you know, clickbait in the fact that it was essentially a trending topic, but it is in alignment with Youngsta's sacrificial theme, the theme of a fallen God and the rising of a rapper mourning the divinity that is lost in South African hip-hop and redemptively trying to pick up the pieces to continue the tradition of being gods in hip-hop. Now, to close it off,
I see your reactions, you talk and you type, but I'm sending this message to all of you Nayas. No disrespect to the friends and the family. I know that you mourning in private. If we were with Keenan that night and they shooting, I'm telling you now, there's more of us dying.
And I'd like to stop it there for a second for all those who haven't seen this freestyle. The links is in the description. And I think what Youngsta is saying essentially is we all have the right to mourn in our own way. A lot of people took to social media to express the variations of how they felt about the passing of AKA, both famous and infamous, both known and unknown. And I think Youngsta is one of those whose status is in constant barrage of tweets might have been seen by many as in bad taste, since the family had literally opened up a plea for everybody to have their spirits rest. But as with any kind of death, sometimes it is very, very difficult to let things lie. And perhaps speaking out is a form of therapy in and of itself. And I encourage that. I think in an atmosphere where we've realized that a lot of the danger of society is the suppression, Youngsta uses rap music and as an extension the hip-hop culture to exercise his depression, to exercise his pain. And he gives respect to the family by saying, I have to do this. This is the platform that I have to speak my views. I don't want to instigate violence. I purely want to navigate my pain. And I think for a freestyle, it's goddamn profound. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. I'm loving the run of freestyles right here, right now in South Africa currently. And as I said, it's beautiful to live in an era where rappers just aren't relying on tracks in the traditional sense. There's freedom in playing with beats that have already been used, flows that have already been used. The tradition of let's keep it rap and thus see how we can extend and improve on each other's styles, but at the very same time, let's honor each other. Very rarely do you get a freestyle that's not done in the spirit of competition, but done in the spirit of acknowledgement from man to man, black man to black man, or colored man to colored man. Just the dynamics of South Africa are layered as a motherfucker. But I just want to give thanks to YoungstaCPT for always being an MC of integrity, somebody who understands the fact that whether deliberate or unintentional, rappers become vehicles for a collective array of people who vicariously live their ideals through these people. And I think Youngsta's very aware of the kids looking up to him, and he's very aware of the tears that are still being shed for AKA's death, and this is his gift to that. My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. I hope you Phula-Phula, and you could break this down with me. If you have any other lines that are your favorites from this freestyle, please holler at us on the comment section. There's a lot. I mean, he really went in on this. It was way too long for me to go into the actual whole verse. It's kind of also bait for you at home to go check out the rest of the freestyle and appreciate this moment for what it truly is. A moment of creative expression, vulnerability given to us as the public for absolutely no cost other than contemplating on the moment. Much love.